Carlos here, and I'm with Biocleaner, and today we have our guest, and we're going to be talking about the Septic Jockey. Um, First, here's my co-host.
Hi, my name is Tony. I'm the international manager with Biocleaner.
Alex.
Okay. My name is Alex Napa. I'm a project manager based in the Cook Islands and basically work around the South Pacific area. And I'm interested in the Biocleaner as a system, a pilot system for our wastewater treatment plants.
Okay. Joey. Joey has left the room. Okay. Oh, okay. Hi, Joey. Yes. Can you tell us about yourself? Yes.
I'm Joey Cinco and I represent Biocleaner out there.
Okay. So anyway, so today we're going to talk about Septic Jockey. So this system, we've deployed it in a few places, mainly different parts of Canada, and one unit in a couple of units in the Philippines. Initially, we started in this place. When we were starting R&D, we started in this place called Quezon City, and their issue then, there was this guy. He's an architect. His name is Jasper. We should invite Jasper. And his main issue is him and the wife hates cockroaches. And what does this happen? Why is this a big issue in the Philippines? Well, in the Philippines, they don't have much sewer systems. So they have septic tanks. And since you have a lot of fats, oils, and grease coming out of your kitchen, water, and all that stuff, they form a lot of sludge or a grease cap, and the roaches feast on them. And so they'll hide there in the mornings, and at night they'll come out hiding in the septic tank, and in the mornings at night they're out there. And the bad problem is when there's a flood. When there's a flood, the septic tank gets flooded too, and the roaches come out and, creates havoc and panic, So for people out there with septic tanks, and if you don't like roaches, Biocleaner is the way. So we put in a unit in Jasper's house. He had a new house, and this was in Quezon City, in some place called Scout something. It's a district where all the houses are Scout this and Scout that. So I call the Scout area. I'm not sure what it's called. But right across the street was a taco factory. So this factory makes tortillas and they will fry. Well, in the Philippines, the tacos are fried, much like the initial Taco Bells, where you have this corn thing and you fry it and all stuff. So you get lots of fats, oils, and grease. And in the industry parlance, it's called ort. So the fats, oils, and grease that sticks to the walls of your place, roaches love ort. So they'll go there and chew on the thing and freaks out the wife. Actually, in my household, it freaks me out. and I would scream and all that stuff like a little girl. And I'm not ashamed of it. But my son would save me by using his hand and grabbing the cockroach and squishing it. And that's how it is. So anyway, so back in the day. So that was the first project we had. It removed all the odor, the water runs clean, and there's no ort, and there is no cockroach. How do you know? So I lifted it up, and there was no cockroach. This was in the daytime, and because there was no food. Then the second project was in the house of Arlene. We ran the units, and we got all the test results from there. And then we also have a few units in Canada. And you can run this, but this is meant for one house, one unit, 500 gallons or 10 people at 50 gallons per person, right? So this was originally meant for septic tanks with 3 chambers, right? So you put this in the reactor chamber, and the reactor chamber typically have 2 days of HRT. This should work it down to BOD below 20 easy, right? Let's go back to the nomenclature. This is your septic jockey, right? And you have 4 ears. This is where you'll string it up with cable, and you can hook it up to the cap of the septic tank, and this will be in the water under 4 inches, but it will not be at the bottom of the tank. It will not be at the bottom. So you're suspended, and it will be under 4 inches of water, more or less. It can be 2 inches, it can be 6 inches, it can be 8 inches, but you don't want it sitting in the bottom, and we'll explain why. Yeah. So then the key thing is this bio body, right? It's a small bioreactor, and inside will be these media, right? And we found a way to put a single layer of the specific microbe we want inside. For your unit, these will be AB mix. A for ammon 2, which will create this ammonia microbes. It'll turn ammonia into nitrates and then nitrites. And then you have Bio 6, which then will get rid of all your sludge, removes all odor, breaks down your fats, oils, and grease. And then it'll chew up your BOD. Aside from that, is facultative microbes there. And so in the second chamber, this thing will denitrify. So your nitrites and nitrates will become elemental nitrogen. So it goes to the air, yeah? Over here, you have 3 lines of diffusers. This rubber thing is made from recycled rubber, and there's anti-germicidal inside so that it doesn't clog too much. There will be, don't worry about clogging. So if it clogs, it's supposed the microbes will self-clean this thing. You know what I'm saying? So you don't, even if you think that there's no air coming out, and just leave it alone, the microbes will take care of itself. It doesn't have to blow vigorously. You know what I'm saying? These things are pre-engineered so that you can just leave it alone, and that's it. Yeah. And so let the microbes do all the work. So in your application in the United States, the common technology is to switch your septic tank into what they call a nitrogen tank. So a nitrogen tank is basically a septic tank, except that it will help remove maybe 60 to 75% of the nitrogen, right? If you have a 3-chamber system, this should get rid of 90% of your nitrogen, yeah? And it's a tiny fraction of the cost of your nitrogen tank. A nitrogen tank typically runs $20,000, and then the excavation, the replacement, and everything else, the bill usually comes out around $60,000. At least in California, Oregon, and New England, it should be around $60,000. Other places are cheaper, less regulations, whatnot. Some places could be probably $45,000 and so on and so forth. But generally, it's not cheap. This is just an easy retrofit. You just lower it. So in your first chamber, the microbes that will be active there will first get rid of odor. So you have any odor issues, that's removed so that it doesn't go up the pipe and into your toilet, right? Second, that's rare, but you know, that one is not an issue anymore. So there will be no odor. It will remove all the sludge. It will eat up all the sludge it will eat up the FOG. Again, if you overload it, and there's a lot of grease and all that stuff, all you have to do is just wait a few more days for it to chew up that load. You know what I'm saying? So if you have a huge party, let's say 80 people showed up, and you're just pouring grease down will it clog? Absolutely. And then so you just have to wait, let the microbes take over. Don't have 7 parties night after night. No, you want to leave a party, leave it for a good month before throwing another party, and the FOG should be chewed up, right? And the second chamber, you will then have your Bio6 microbes. They're facultative, and so your nitrates will settle in your second tank, and you start denitrifying there, right? So to polish off your remaining BOD and your nitrogen, right? But your ammonia is pretty much taken care of in the first tank, because your ammonia can only be taken down aerobically, right? So the Ammon 2 works really well. But the first 6 months, what do you mean well? Well, will you have 50% nitrogen ammonia removal in the first tank? Absolutely. But if you wait a good, let's say 2-3 months, it will improve its performance. Yeah, so yeah, you will have more stable. After 90 days, you probably will have 90+% of your ammonia being taken down. And then the second chamber, remove the thing. So can you, well, how long? Well, depends on how many people. Let's say if you're only 4 people in the house, of course it'll work better. Just a matter of load, right? But do not think that you can have 6 houses and this will take care of all 6 houses. No. There's a limit. It's not designed for that. We have Septic Jockey Pro for commercial uses. So if you have 20 houses on one septic tank, you need a Septic Jockey Pro. Okay? Yeah. and so it's just letting the microbes do all the work. It's fairly simple. What's the aeration?
40 watts.
40 watts. Okay, so just 40 watts, like a light bulb. Any questions, Alex?
Yeah. So one of those units per domestic household and a maximum of 10 occupants of that house. Am I correct?
That's the average, yeah.
Yes, well, that's the US design. So the US design is 10 people max to a house.
Okay, that sounds good, because then that's the size of a Pacific Island family.
Really?
Especially if especially if it's an extended family. So there'll be mom and dad, there'll be some kids, maybe the mom and dad's brother or sister staying with them. And then that's basically with their kids as well. So we're probably up around about, say, seven total in the household.
Okay. Mind you, mind you, we have this guy, Matt Zakowski. I gotta find out how Matt is doing. He has designed in the suburbs of Nice. He wants to put up this an inn with a destination restaurant. I don't know what destination restaurant meant. That I'm not too sure. But if you have a large inn, you can put 3 Septic Jockey Pros in 3 giant tanks, and as the water flows, it'll be super clean. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but these Septic Jockey Pros, they're generally designed for each one of them for 20 to 25 cubic meters a day.
Okay.
So if you have like,
Now,
say,
just stay with me for a second. I've got the household one. And let's just graduate to say because this is the next one. Let's say a small accommodation property that has, say, 3 to 4 villas within the same block or within the same building. That's the next concentration. So, and each villa has, say, 2 occupancy for 2, and say 60% occupation over the year. That's like a maximum. Say 3 to 4 villas.
So let's say
60%
8 people, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. What size plants for that particular setup?
Oh, well, if these are modular and portable, if you have one septic tank per household, just use one. And if you want 4 of them to come together, you can still put one. Again, depends on how clean you want it, right? So, and I don't know what the discharge standard. There's no discharge, right? It goes septic tank. It percolates to your groundwater, right?
Okay.
You can, if you're doing cast in place septic tanks, you can have 2 of your chambers. Each one of these chamber has 1 unit, and then the third one you can leave it blank, and that'll still be okay. You know what I'm saying? You can, if it's
Okay,
cast in
so-
place. Yeah.
All right. Eros, what's the quality that we're expecting to enter the groundwater? What's the quality of the effluent? Do you have an idea at this stage based
No,
on the
these
system?
these are modular and portable. So
Yes.
depends on what your standards are. You can use a series of this. So in the Philippines, the standard is just BOD 50. Yeah, so that is easy enough. We have a smaller unit for Philippine sizes where the discharge standard is pretty crappy. And so we have a smaller unit that'll do that. For the US, this is for 1 unit. If you have a household of less than 10 people, it should hit BOD 20, right? Now, if you
BOD
need to
20,
go on
okay.
BOD 10 or more, just put 2 units in there.
I
It's
gotcha.
modular. So if you have a cast in place septic tank, usually made of concrete, well, the first 2 chambers,
Yes.
you can make it larger, put 1 in the first chamber, put another one in the second chamber, and then use the third chamber for leaching and percolation and all that stuff for polishing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understand. Yeah.
Modular portable.
Good.
It's in the hands of the designer.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Then because from those 3 units, then we jump into basically large septic tanks then, and you're talking like 200 rooms into 1 septic tank.
Oh, you're
So
gonna
from
love it.
there,
Yeah.
so the
So you
designer
can-
can
Okay.
so the
So
designer
let's
can
say-
work around those parameters.
Okay, let's say 200 units, 200 rooms, 2 persons per room in a hotel. And in hotels, people tend to take a lot of showers. Well, that's what the hotel
Yes.
people tell me. And then, so we'll use, let's say, 400 liters per person. That's like a lot of showers, right? And so 800.8 cubic meters per room, blah, blah, blah. You can use a series of Septic Jockey Pros, or if you want energy savings, then you'll use the Biocleaner system. Yeah. So we have a bunch of island resorts that have used ours just recently, and we'll give a couple that has used our system. There's 2 in the island of Palawan. They're demo areas, so you can get in touch with them and ask them how they feel about their system, right? So we'll send you the names of the websites of these two. It's on my phone. I can. It should be here. Let me see if I have the names. They're in Palawan. Well, anyway, God, zooks. Well, we'll get you those names, and they recycle these things. So they recycle. It doesn't mean they recycle back to drinking, right? They recycle to gardening. Since you have no odor, you can easily recycle this to laundry grade. I'm not saying you should drink it. I'm just saying you can use it for laundry. You may want to pass through an AC filter if you want to, or just a simple sand filter. For laundry, again, you will have lots of detergents and all this stuff. It goes back to your system, and then so on and so forth, right? Normally in our wastewater system, we encourage people to add fish as the disinfecting system. So instead of using chlorine, your clientele may prefer a chemical-free one that uses almost no energy. So in our system, we'll usually have a fish pond. So the final one would be at least a day of HRT, and we want sunlight to hit it. And when sunlight hits it, because of the treatment, if you have clean water, chlorella will bloom, right? And then you want to put the fish in there. The chlorella will add oxygen to the water, right? And then the fish will eat the chlorella, and then the chlorella will also take care of feed the fish because it's high protein. So many of these hotels use fish to disinfect and thyme. And so this cuts down. Our Biocleaner system is typically uses tons less of labor, right? You want something that's very forgiving. Like if there's clogging here, just leave it alone, let the microbes do its job, and it will unclog. What happens though is most people want to justify their employment, so then they'll take this thing and start brushing on it. What for? But it's to show I'm busy. I want to show my boss I deserve to get paid, because in reality, your boss will just see you wait. There's just nothing much to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what we tell people, don't touch it. Just don't touch it. If it's broken, the repairman will come up and tell you what to do. And it's just very easy to repair. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, just don't touch this thing. This thing does not require brushing. Sometimes when there's heavy clogging caused by some chemical that was poured in, and then there's some, let's say there's an FOG that sometimes comes in because it's very, very dark. Let's say your COD is like 10,000 and it's full of FOG and it clogs it. What we tell people is just to use Clorox, spray the Clorox over this if you want to service this, and leave it alone for a couple of hours. Then you just pour water over this to wash off the Clorox and all that stuff, and then put it back on. It should be working fine. Yeah.
Okay.
But many times people just want to show them brushing. Hey, I'm busy. You know? What the hell? No. Yeah. That's all.
Now, just walk me through that particular apparatus in front of you. So the green, what's the green thing? Is that a breather tube?
Oh, this is our aeration tube. Do you know why it's green? Do you know why it's green, Alex?
Yeah.
So we
Tell
can
me.
so we can charge you more. If it's clear, it will work equally as well. Now, the expensive one are the pink ones. So if there's some entrepreneur that's a woman, we'll just charge her 3 times as much as the clear ones. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So there's pink, that's the expensive one, and there's green, that's slightly more expensive, because then you can tell the difference. If I have clear ones, you don't see as well. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's just for the cinematography.
Optics, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, just so tell me, what's the makeup of that particular module in front of you? There is the frame that you've got.
Yeah.
There's the breather tube. What's the breather tube attached to?
Again?
Your blower.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Would you mind repeating that? I'm sorry.
Is the breather tube? Yeah. Is the breather tube attached to a blower up the top?
Oh,
Yeah.
well, this thing is then attached
Yeah.
to a blower, and so the blower, there's a splitter, and it's only one blower, and you split it.
This could be longer, like depending on how deep or something.
Yeah. So it's something easy and cheap, right? So, yeah, and
Okay.
this is stainless steel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it comes.
Can this be made of cheaper stainless steel? Absolutely. But the reason why we wanted shiny is so we can charge $10 more. No, because sometimes people buy with their eyes. You know what I'm saying? People buy with their
Yeah.
eyes. Would this work if it was made of some crappy thing? Let's say just iron,
Oh,
some rusty iron thing. Would it
Yeah.
work? Absolutely it'll work, but it'll rust. Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
it comes in a kit, right? So
Yeah,
it includes the blowers and
It'll
the
come
cables,
complete. It'll come
Yes.
complete in a box and all that
the
stuff.
manifolds for this one, everything comes in.
Yeah.
Okay. Talk to me about the blower. What's the connections there? And what's the energy consumption? And talk me through to where the internet link happens.
What internet link? Okay. So online inline is not part of this thing. You don't need any internet link on this one. So in our normal sewage treatment plant system, the one with the biocleaner, the big ones, typically we would put this in ponds. So these will be HDPE lined or PVC lined. And we can put in inline sensors, right? And the sensors is then with the cameras will then be sent overseas to our contact center, and we can read that thing, and there's a charge for that, and the guys can turn on actuators that will leave gates open. So let's say you're in a weekend resort and you're doing X number of gallons per day and it's off season and you want to shut the system off. If you just leave it alone, it'll still work. When the system comes back on and the season starts again, it'll just work. However, if you want it to be shut down because you don't want to spend more electricity, we can shut it off for you offline. Yeah. If there's a rain event or a certain spike, we can then turn on these things to an emergency pond. So emergency ponds with normal wastewater or sewage does not work. Why? Because if you have a giant pool of wastewater in the normal sense of the thing, after 3 days, you can smell it like a mile away, right? But our system is odorless. So when we pour into the emergency pond, we can have a side stream from a treatment pond. Initially put in a little of the microbial water, and then our emergency ponds have units that will turn on so that you don't have any odor event. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Okay.
So you pay
Okay.
you get what you pay for. And so you can always put in units there, and you don't need to move sludge left and right and all that messy thing. No. Yeah. So it'll be totally odorless and the like. Yeah, the offline online
Okay.
though is for, let's say you have a city Or let's say you have a community of, let's say, 800 people. 800 people, and you want to use sewage systems, and there's some restaurants there, maybe some fish processing where the people are working, drying up fish or cooking fish to put in cans, whatnot. You can put things in there, online, offline, 24/7. Somebody's looking at the camera, right? 24/7, Saturdays, Sundays, blah, blah. And it all comes down to $7,500 a month. Almost no labor. If there's an emergency, they'll call. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, just come back to the blower system then. I'm trying to isolate the various components to the system. What kind of power consumption are we talking about for the blower?
For the big one, 2 HP. 2 HP blowers. We prefer this brand called FPZ. Their supplier. They're up in Michigan. Why do we like them? If the blower gets wet, it'll still be working. Well, we just have to dry it off and it'll work right away. So they're anodized, and if it gets wet, let's say some accident happens, all you have to do is turn it off, let it drip dry, and in a couple of days or so, you can turn it on, it'll be okay. Let it drip dry, it'll be fine.
Okay.
That's assume it's a rain event or something. If you want to take it off and let it dry somewhere else, that's fine. But why waste your time? Just leave it alone, let it drip dry. The sun will hit at it. It'll dry out in a day and working again.
Okay. So for the small plant, for the small singular septic tanks, what's the power consumption for those ones?
40 volts. 40 watts.
40
I'm sorry.
watts.
40 watts.
So 110 or 220 volts.
Yeah, you can ask for 110 or 220.
Okay.
Yeah, no 440s. Yeah.
For the big ones, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And is it running continuously?
Yes, leave it alone.
And it's
Yeah.
completely
The
silent.
more you
Okay.
turn it on and off, the more stress the unit gets. So just leave it alone and let it run. It's like 40 watts is like about the power of the light bulb in your refrigerator. It's a
Yeah.
tiny light bulb, not the big one. The small one, that's 40 watts. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just leave it
No,
alone.
understand.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Happy with the singular septic tanks and the multiple septic tanks. Now, let's now talk a little bit about the pilot system that we want to put in for the main township. Do you have an idea of the actual plans, the size of it, maybe some schematics of what we're thinking about?
No, tell us what it is. We have a wastewater questionnaire. You tell us what kind of flow rate you're looking at, what kind of influent you
Okay.
have, what you want to treat out, and then if you want to recycle, to what grade, and we'll tell you we'll tell you what we think you did, and then there'll be a conference meeting. So we'll explain each part, and then you'll tell me, this doesn't work because we have this issue, and then we have this issue. So we're having a conference meeting, trying to get both sides to come to an understanding of what really is required and how much to do it, and so on and so forth.
Okay. So basically what we're looking at is similar to a septic tank system. And we're going to insert similar, if not larger type of instruments like that, like the one sitting in front of you on the desk inside the system to do the job.
Sure. We have this thing called Septic Jockey Pro. If you look at septicjockey.com, you look for Septic Jockey Pro. Yeah? So there are chemical factories in Pakistan that can't afford the full system, so they buy Septic Jockey Pro, and it'll treat the chemicals out. We're using the same microbes that the larger are using, so it's called Chem 5. You'll treat down the chemicals, and that's it. You can use that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I start approximating, say, for an occupancy of say 8,000 people for the pilot system, which I think is way on the outside of my capacity. I don't think we'll ever get to that number, but let's say it's that number. Then that's basically what I need to design my plant up to.
Okay, this is what, 50 gallons per person, or do you need less or more?
I think 50 gallons is, over here we use 150 liters per person, I think. Does that sound about right?
Over here, there are places that use 150. Over here, we use 200, unless you're in California. I don't know. People here, maybe here because we take more jacuzzis, or I don't know. You know, but I do know that here we do take a lot of Epsom salt, at least in my household. So, so that's a different thing. But 150 should be should be easily acceptable. 150 liters per person. So times 8,000. 1,200 cubic meters a day. Sure. What is the BOD/COD that you're planning to do? It's like a 300, 250. You don't have to be too precise. We can just use 300. Is there any industrial waste coming in, like from a fish plant or gasoline station or?
I'm going to say, because we are dealing with just the waste coming from the black water and the gray water.
Okay.
That's all. I don't think we're going to get any industrial effluent coming through the system, because the plant itself and the reticulation of the pipeline would be just for the gray water and the black water.
So kitchen and toilet waste.
Yes, kitchen and toilet waste.
Absolutely no issue. And what do you want to? Is there a need to recycle the water or reuse it, or you're just for agriculture?
Yes. And what we're trying to do is use the water for agricultural purposes.
Okay.
And if you're familiar with some of the Southeast Asian countries, we have low-lying areas that have root crops, things like taro that grow there, and the majority of the recycled water will be for those kind of plants, because we are located next door to it. So we can easily allow those plants to flow through those growing areas.
Sure.
And our secondary usage will be
This would be great for
pump it
phosphorus
into.
retention. Right.
Yes.
Right. So there is in the Philippines they call it kangkong, but in Vietnam they would call it long choy or something like that. These are well, when I was a kid, we'd feed this to pigs, but people eat it too. Yeah. So back in the day, you didn't have to. There is no such thing as a hog farm where you're gonna get fresh corn and then you're gonna grind it up and feed it to your pigs. So back in the day, 50, 60 years ago, we will basically, the hog farmer will basically go foraging for food for the hogs. And so you would harvest these crops and feed it to the, and so that long choy, I think they would call it that. Yeah, it's like a swamp vegetable. Is that right? Yeah.
Okay.
It's low-lying area and all stuff. Vietnam should have that easy. Is that what?
Okay.
It's and it's tasty. In the Philippines, we'll cook it with a shrimp paste, uh, and garlic. I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this your client in Vietnam, or is it still in Cook Island?
No, this one is for the pilot system because the pilot system is located next to these growing areas because
Okay.
I wanted to use the plants as its secondary polishing element when it enters into the environment.
Okay. No, with the
Once we,
wastewater, with the treated wastewater
Yeah.
from Biocleaner, you can use it for aquaculture, easy. And so
Yes.
aquaculture has a higher standard than agriculture. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because aquaculture, you
Yes.
cannot have ammonia higher than 2. Your nitrogen requirement
Right.
is actually much less. While in
Yes.
agriculture, ammonia 8 or 10 is okay, right? Higher than that, you have a tendency of burning grass or having fungus to sprout, not just mushrooms, but other nastier type of fungus that can create an environment where your crops get infected. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People don't understand that until this Chinese couple tried to smuggle in this fungus. Over here, there's this case of a couple of Chinese spies who are trying to bring in this fungus, and this fungus is well, they're a natural pathogen for crops. Kind of weird shit. Yeah, but that one
Okay.
is why why you don't want ammonia in your wastewater to be recycled.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the last one is some of our larger resorts are located within a sandy bottom area. So that means there's a great lot of leaching of all water, whether it be rainwater collection plants or just stormwater leaches into the sand and into the lagoon. And we get these algal blooms in the lagoon. And I want to basically remove that from happening by making sure that we catch at least the kitchen water and the toilet water inside the septic tanks. And the effluent from the septic tanks is relatively low in nutrients, natural nutrients, so that it doesn't, it becomes almost like normal creek water or storm water that would dissipate from the land, as opposed to being high level nutrients entering the water stream. And these resorts are basically within 30 to 50 meters of the sandy beaches.
Okay, so people use our microbes to fight off cyanobacteria and red tide.
Yes.
Okay, so we use different creatures for different purposes. So if you have a lake with cyanobacteria or blue-green algae, we can put in a set of microbes there and it'll get rid of the microcystin. We'll send you, for the last 10 years, 50% of the world's wastewater went to China until maybe 5-6 years ago. And so the Chinese Academy of Sciences have studied their system of using our microbes against microcystin, right? These are very pathogenic types of cyanobacteria. We'll send over the results that you can see. You'll see that the microcystin goes to non-detect, right? And then for red tide, okay, so cyanobacteria not only uses sunlight, they actually
Yes.
are ninja creatures. They will also, they can also survive on BOD. So if you have BOD, they can consume the BOD. They take the sunlight, they can consume the BOD, and move forward. There are also many ninja creatures that are chemosynthetic. They will take up chemicals and grow. So red tide not only will grow on consume the nutrients and the BOD, not only sunlight, but they can also consume up chemicals for its energy. So it will eat up petroleum, it will eat up industrial pesticides, insecticides, and grow. You know what I'm saying? So it has so many ways.
Yes.
So we lower this system in there and it chew it all up. So if you have a client that's a resort and there's a red tide about to bloom there, just put in the units in there, turn them on, and the red tide will disappear 3-4 days. If you're unlucky and it's spread out, then you have to have a bigger thing. So if you have a containment net and it's relatively small, you just turn it on, boom, goes away. You know what I'm saying? So we'll send you those chemicals too. So if you have an oil spill, yeah, that's real nasty. An oil spill with a few days after an oil spill, let's say a couple weeks, you'll see red tide usually coming and you'll see the water. It'll change color, right? Because that's the red tide microbes growing. You lower our units there, consumes it all up, and voila, you just save the resort a ton of money. You know what I'm saying? And you can test the water, the petroleum will be gone. It could be diesel, will be gone, so on and so forth. And you can take it to the bank.
Very good.
Yeah. We guarantee that, yeah.
One last one.
Sure.
One last one, Dean. How do we address pig farmer waste?
Yeah, use it, chew it up. We'll send you a video of these pig farms in China using our system. You put it in a lagoon or a pond, throw it in there, and it'll just chew it up. Same with chicken farms. So there are a lot of people telling me, oh, we sell chicken farms for fertilizers, right? That's what these people are saying. Oh, we can also use this as fish feed. And you know, when you talk to the corporate farmers, these are corporate farmers, would you rather deal with that or not having to deal with that at all? Every one of them will tell you, we'd rather not deal with that at all. We don't want the recurring income from biogas. We don't need to generate electricity. We don't need to sell it as fertilizers. We don't need the money from selling it as fish feed. We don't need the liability. But again, their waste people are just trying to make the best of their situation. If you use our system in there, just leave it on 2 horsepower, it'll chew it all up. Why bother? Yeah, and we have these things on subscription. There is one farmer in this place called Batangas in the Philippines. It's about 3 hours drive from Manila, and that's the only one who's bought a chicken farm who's bought. But hog farmers will always buy this because the hog farm's shit is stinkier. The chicken farmer wants to get rid of the stink, but mostly to get rid of the flies and mosquitoes. That is a big issue because they don't want pathogens all over their chicken farms. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to deal with this shit. I don't want to deal with my feathers. That's what they'll tell you. I don't want to deal with those feathers. I don't want to sting them. And I don't want to spray anything over anything. I said just discharge it to the lagoon. We'll treat it up. No odor. You're not going to have any problems. Because when you put our system in on a pond, right? And then there's a second pond and a third pond. What will happen is the last pond will be a fish pond. And since if the fish pond is 1 week and the water comes out, goes to the river, they cannot claim that your waste is killing the fish in the river. When your last step is fish, right? And
Yes.
and you get inspectors coming in, and this inspector's job is to make sure there's no blowback to themselves, right? They
Yeah.
every time
Yeah.
there's some pollution thing, they'll claim, fuck, that inspector took money from that corporate farm and all that stuff. They need a bullet. They need bullets to show that they didn't take no money. And so if there's a video of them that there's all these beautiful koi jumping up and down, and in the last stage, then they can show it's not this farm. They didn't take no money from this farm. It's just some evil shit that people making up. Yeah. So this is the best thing. Inspectors love us. You know what I'm saying? Because they're not there to collect money. They're there to do a good job and not get fired. Yeah. So that the last stage is important. You know, no hassle. The inspectors need help too, right? They didn't sign up to work in the environment just to get your whatever. No, they understand too that if they shut down a farm, you're talking about investment that are worth millions of dollars for that millions of chickens, and then jobs will be lost in their community. They're people too, and they're smart people, right? So their job is to provide you as a politician. Your boss wants to keep the jobs going, yeah, and it could be that even your own relatives are working in that chicken farm or that hog farm, and all they need is to get this out of their way. 21st century solutions for 21st century problems.
Good. I like your solutions. I think we've got. I think that's basically.
And we're dirt
all
cheap.
we do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, chicken farms, hog farms, fish farms, they love us. Yeah, just don't oversell. So there was this cases where they need only 4 units and the contractor wants to sell them 50. And of course they balk, it's too expensive. Well, shit, man, that's of course, but you only need 4, not 50. And you ask the contractor, why 50? Well, I want that extra 10% discount for volume. No, yeah.
Since you've introduced the septic tank system, I'm very, very keen to pick up some units to apply into a difficult area, basically based along the main resort's beaches, and I'll pick a couple of residential homes to put them in as pilot studies, just to show the inspectors of the impact it can have, and then we'll put a monitoring system on them to show how it works and why it works.
You need to give it time. Or you can clean up the tank first and fill it with water and let it go first for a while. And then, it may be easier. The easiest one is to empty it first, put a little water, let the microbe gets happy, and voila. Yeah. If you put lots of load in there, especially if there's like, I don't know, lots of plastic wrappers inside the septic tank, or so some of our more enterprising contractors would put a basket under the discharge so that they can take out the plastic easier, you know. Yeah.
Good,
Okay.
Eros.
Any more questions? But I hope you try out on the oil spills. You get any oil spills in Cook Island?
Yes, in fact, I'm thinking very seriously about my last project was with the Power Authority. We had issues with spills coming from the collection points along the external perimeter of the power station, whereby we get a heavy rain, and the water goes inside our sumps and overflows into the river system.
So your power stations are what, diesel powered or not nuclear?
Yeah, diesel power.
Okay.
Correct. Diesel.
Okay. and it's easy to test. So you can get our petroleum microbes, small one like this. Yeah, and then you can try it on in a smaller container, probably yay high, yay wide, and then probably mix it with 10,000 ppm of diesel. Of course, the thing will float. Put in some NPK, turn it on, and then don't look at it, don't touch it. Come back to it, let's say in 30 days, inspect it, let it go again for another 30 days, and so on and so forth. Because oil will float initially, but the NPK will help it emulsify. By 30 days, it'll be nice and well mixed, and then by 60, it'll be clean. Blah, 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 blah.
Very good. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to do a presentation with our local health authority so I can get all my approvals into place. And I will send them a copy of this video to starters, and I can walk
Send
them
it
through
over.
the whole system as well.
Okay. Another thing is we always we pitch this in other places to property developers. So instead of if you have a small development, let's say it's only 80 houses, then you tell me I gotta put sewer lines and then a sewage treatment plant, and then every month I have to hire these engineers to run my sewage plant. That's rather
Yes.
costly for 80 houses, right? So
Yes.
even if the engineer shows up once a week, that's a lot of money. So we're saying just use this. You don't need to dig up. If you have old roads, you don't have to dig up the road system to put the pipes in, and then just retrofit this thing. Boom, cheap and easy.
Okay.
Cheaper than the sewer lines. Forget about building
Very
a new sewer plant. That costs even more, right? Even if you have 200 houses, just to dig up, the roads to put in the sewer pipes, that's quite a bit of money, and the effort, it takes too long. This one, just lower it, turn it on, you'll see results in a week,
Okay.
and without the cost.
I'm going to run some load tests just as a desktop exercise, which I would like to send back to you as a test case to give me an idea before I actually build the units out. This is more for intensive developments in the middle of town. So if I've got a multi-story building and I've got a smaller area that I could build my septic tank, and when I say multi-story building, I'm only talking like 3 or 4 floors.
Walk-ups.
On land footprints that are like maybe 3,000 to 4,000 square meters. And on top of there, I've got to put a commercial building of some kind. And the commercial building may be a mixed use utility. Ground floor could be retail, second floor could be offices, and maybe on floors on 3 and 4 could be some kind of high-end boutique accommodation.
So low-rise buildings.
Low rise, correct. Low rise.
So below 4 stories, mid-rise is 5 to 14.
Yeah.
High-rise is 15.
Yeah, about that size.
Yeah. Technically,
Very good.
Are called skyscrapers.
Yeah.
So back in the day, the sky was much lower. Yeah.
We're still recording. Do we
Yes,
need to introduce?
Oh yeah, sure. Okay. I mean, it's a conversation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like private.
No, it's okay. Alex, you have any concerns, whatever you want, Yeah.
No, at this stage, I think what you're talking about is very, very simplified. And like even the equipment sitting before you, if that's a typical size of one, that's much better than all the systems that I've been getting from other suppliers and manufacturers and designers, which some of them are quite complicated in its setup. I think I'm going to run with your system sitting in front of you as a start point. That sounds much more feasible for what we're thinking about.
Okay. No, it's just the cost is it's just savings from not doing things. So the main
Yes.
savings there, you don't need a new tank, and you don't need to dig, and you don't need to sweat, and you let the microbes do the work. Why use people to dig stuff up, take care of the ponds and all that stuff? You don't need that. And then for offline,
Okay.
we'd have to do that. Offline, inline, offline, blah blah, online, inline, and then yeah. And then they can call you in case of emergencies. That's all. But typically they can
Okay.
manage that. Actuators are pretty simple. Turning valves on and off, blah blah. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Eros, I think the next time we chat, I think it will be with the health department themselves and their project officers. This will be a very good, there'll be another time like this where we can have this conference call, because I'm sure they'll have some queries themselves, some queries that
Absolutely.
we're
Anytime.
all aware of.
We
Yeah.
may not have all the answers, but we will have time. Yeah, so they can always ask. I'm not sure we can.
Right.
Hopefully, we'll be of service. If not, we'll just be honest and said we don't have that right now, but we'll get back to you in a couple of years if we do have a new solution.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank
That's all
you.
I have.
Thank you, Joey.
Thank
It's
you.
a pleasure